Okay, we are now recording. This is a meeting of the Valley Green Energy Working Group. It's Friday, January 17th, 2025. Happy New Year. We're anxious to get some updates and see where we are for next steps with our Valley Green Energy Community Choice Aggregation. So with that, we don't have any public, so no one for public comment. So we can launch right into updates. I took the review of agendas off for today because I think there's so many that we should dedicate a meeting to catching up on those later. So not agendas, I'm sorry, minutes. So we can do that at the next meeting. But today I wanted to give some updates, which I literally only received moments ago. So it wasn't that we were holding back. We just literally didn't have anything. So, but Paul Gromer was wonderful to put a chart together. Before I get to the chart, I do want to give another update of some exchange that happened about a month ago. Was just about the auto enrollment. As we all know, because the National Grid prices are going to be more competitive with the Valley Green Energy basic service rate versus the Eversource price, which is currently more or will be more.
Isn't it the other way around, Stephanie?
Sorry?
Isn't it the other way around? Eversource is cheaper, National Grid is more.
Yes, sorry. No. National Grid's price is actually lower than Eversource's.
Oh,
What? When did that happen?
For the February, for the next
February
February
1st.
1st, as of February 1st, not currently,
Right. So
but
Eversource announced that already. We knew that, and it was going to be lower than our basic service. And now National Grid has announced, and they're even lower than Eversource.
National Grid's National Grid's basic service is going to be lower than Eversource's. We knew this because remember when we had a conversation with Paul Gromer just before. I'm sorry. Let me start this again because I'm getting confused with all the different utilities. Okay. So currently the Eversource rate is both rates are lower than Valley Green Energy basic service rate currently.
I don't think that's true.
It's going to be the basic rate. Well, I don't know when the Eversource changed, but Eversource is going to be shortly more. The basic rate is going to be more than the Valley Green Energy rate, basic service rate.
Okay.
No, Stephanie,
just
it's
the
gonna
opposite?
be about 3 cents less.
Yeah.
Actually, rather than saying more and less, do we
Yeah.
just have the rates? Let's just
I don't-
see we can look at what the actual rates are, and then we can calculate more or less in our own
Sorry,
head.
let me just give me a minute then, because I don't.
Yeah, no, this is no problem because this could be new news that I don't know.
No, it's not new news.
Yeah,
It was
I don't
news
know.
that we had from Paul and Marlena before the holidays.
Right. That
And it was the concern that we had that the timing was such that Eversource rates were going to be,
Yes, lower.
lower than Valley Green Energy.
Valley Green Energy, right.
I'm sorry, lower. Yes, sorry.
And so
It completely turned around in my mind.
Right.
Sorry,
So
just give me.
National Grid's about 14 cents and
Yeah.
and
I'm
Eversource.
trying to, yeah, let me just get
I'll shut up.
get the rates. That's okay. I'm just trying to get the rates up so we can actually
So,
look at it.
why is it that if this was known before the holidays, why is it that the rest of us didn't know about it?
You did know about this.
We
We
did-
had a
we
good
did know.
conversation about this with Paul Gromer, and I'm just getting it backwards, and I apologize.
Yeah, okay, that feels
Hold on.
better. Okay.
Right.
No,
Let me-
I never knew, I didn't know what the National Grid rate was.
We didn't.
We didn't
At
know
that
either.
time, we didn't know.
We didn't know.
They released it
December, we didn't
recently.
know.
We only
14
just found
cents
out.
a little bit.
Yeah, we only just found out recently.
Yeah.
So just bear with me 1 second. So I'll share my screen.
I guess what I'm getting at is that all members of the working group didn't know what some people knew. And so the question is,
No,
Why-
no,
No, that's not true. It's just that Stephanie misspoke.
yeah.
I just
It-
made a mistake, Adele. I'm sorry. I
What?
just,
that's okay. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Um,
You're allowed to make mistakes.
sorry, let me just, I don't know why it is not showing and sharing my screen. Let me stop again. Sorry, I'm also home not feeling well right now, so I don't know what's going on, but it could be COVID.
Sorry.
Sure, so, all right, here we go. All right.
Mm.
No, why is it not? Are you seeing my? Are you
Yes.
seeing
Yep.
green
Yeah.
energy rates now? Okay, it's just not showing on my computer. So currently, these are the current rates.
No. Oh,
Valley
yes,
Green Energy
No,
rate.
these are
Yes.
the current rates
Yeah.
because this is coming from the website.
right.
So my understanding is that these are changing. So I guess what I'm confused about is if both Eversource and National Grid are changing in February.
They are.
They
Both
are.
of them
Eversource
are.
announced it earlier than National Grid did, so we knew about Eversource and we didn't know.
Didn't know about National Grid, correct? What I
And
can, yeah, go ahead, Ben, go ahead.
yeah, and then National Grid did announce, and for those of us in Northampton, it was good news that they were still not lower than the Valley Green Energy rate.
Correct. So I apologize. What we know, the National Grid residential rate, Adele, which I think you were interested in, is going to be 14.672 cents per kilowatt hour.
672. Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be the residential rate. What we know is that the Eversource rate is going to be lower than our Valley Green Energy standard rate. And I'm sorry, I don't have that amount up at the top, but maybe Ben, if you have that email, maybe you could,
I'm hunting for it now.
okay, that would be helpful.
The Eversource rate from our December meeting. the
Yes, if
Eversource
you
rate
have
is
it,
is lower than the Valley Green Energy basic rate.
right,
So it's, this was our concern at the December meeting.
correct.
And we did not know, just for Adele's understanding, in December at our meeting, we did not know National Grid's, we didn't know it then, and we recently learned it, apparently. And I guess it was made public, publicized, but we didn't know it back in December when we met.
Correct. That is correct. I'm just wondering if you have the Eversource rate, does someone have that email open or?
I
Just-
don't.
I am hunting for it now. Eversource basic service prices. The current rate for residential for Eversource is 14.023 cents, and starting February 1 for residential, it'll be 11.825 cents.
Wow.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's significantly less. So, which is a real bummer for those of us in the Eversource territory, but great for you all in National Grid that Valley Green Energy will still be a lower basic service
But by less. So
standard.
National Grid starting February 1st will be 14.672.
7.2, correct. Right. So,
What did you just say? Sorry.
National Grid will be 14
Oh,
cents.
I thought it was 13.994.
That's Valley Green Energy.
Valley
No.
Green Energy,
Oh, got it. It's 14.672, right?
Yes, that is
Okay,
starting
thank
February
you.
1st. That will be the new National Grid
I
rate.
know. See, it gets really confusing really fast. So-
Yes, I'm sorry
So-
about that.
No, so the point, so the point basically just is that, and I'm gonna stop sharing now. The point is that there's obviously a difference for the two territories. So, there was an email exchange because there was, we needed the executives to make a decision about whether to send out the auto enrollment notices, for the new pricing. And the recommendation from Mass Power Choice was that Northampton should do their mailings for auto enrollment But Pelham and Amherst should wait until August, until the new basic service rate period kicks in. Because it's very likely that that pricing will fall back in line with more competitive pricing than currently is happening, because they believe this anomaly for the pricing has to do with a warm period that we had that impacted the Eversource pricing. So we think that in August, the pricing should go back to where both Eversource and National Grid are closer in their basic service rates than what they currently are.
So I'm missing an important piece of information here. Why would Northampton send out another auto enrollment form?
So this is for the new customers who come on.
Oh,
So it's just, so there's
that-
automatically, this is how we basically bring the people in, is when there's a new customer, we send them a notice that auto enroll and, you know, and notify them about the auto enrollment.
okay, I didn't understand that. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's the only, so we're just holding off on Amherst and Pelham because of the difference in pricing, and we think that in August, it will go back to being a more competitive price, and that hopefully we won't be in this situation where Eversource is lower than Valley Green Energy again. That's our hope. And especially, I think, with the cold weather that we're having and we're about to have, it's probably likely that that will be the case, that it will be more competitive again.
Right.
So that's just an
Possibly by
update.
a lot.
Yeah. So that's just the update on where the auto enrollment stands. I do have a table of the current enrollment. Oh shoot, where did that go? Give me a second, I just had it up here. I'll get it up again. Okay, so I have a table that, this is literally, I got this only moments ago. So I did not have this before the meeting, or much more before the meeting. Okay, so I will share my screen again. Okay, are you seeing that?
Yep,
Yes.
here we go.
Can
All right.
you enlarge it a little bit?
And you won't be able to see them all side by side, but I can scroll, I guess, a little bit.
Okay,
Is that,
So-
We can enlarge it ourselves, by the way.
Yeah,
really? How?
Yes.
how-
on your
Just
own?
just use your mouse or your touchpad to you know, the way you would normally make something bigger.
yep.
it's not-
Yeah, so
Oh,
in
yeah.
fact, if Stephanie, if you set yours so that it's so that all the towns are visible,
Yeah,
then people zoom into their own town.
yeah,
And that's awesome. Okay, this is really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So
Okay,
this is
this is
Paul
really
literally, but he was away yesterday. I had reached out to Marlena. Paul had been away and was away yesterday and this morning, so he literally did pull this together just before the meeting for us. So you know, I think what this shows us is, you know, the number of accounts we have for residential and non-residential, and it's very interesting to compare across the three communities. Northampton certainly has a higher residential number of accounts, and yet look at the use. Northampton has a lower use, and so Paul has a note at the bottom here that has to do with the higher
Right.
higher percentage of multifamily housing, which I
Yeah.
thought was really interesting. So so overall, I think you know, I'm looking at this 100% green, the number of accounts that are in 100% green. 82 in Amherst and 110 in Northampton and 12 in Pelham.
Mhm.
So, you know, again, you know, pretty good, but that this is just the beginning. So that's an effort where we probably want to try to do more outreach. And then just looking at the average use per account, again, you know, it's interesting how much lower, and I guess it's because of the multi-family housing, it's how it shows up as so much lower for Northampton versus, you know, Amherst and Pelham accounts.
Perfect sense.
So, yep.
Stephanie, would you be willing to send this
Please.
to everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to. I'm
Thank you.
And I just, because I literally just got it for the meeting. So it will go to,
Understood.
Can someone remind me what returns means? So I know
return
what
the mailing. So when folks were noticed, so if you look at, it's the, this is the opt-out mailing,
Oh,
and these are the return rates for the mailing. that
What
went out.
does that mean, return rates?
So if something was mailed and it got returned, it never got delivered, it means that that
Right.
account was never established.
Thank you.
So
right.
the rates of return, and he was saying that they're actually lower than average.
Hmm.
So,
Which just means that you have more, you don't have a whole large turnover from one year to another in that, at that address. Kind of.
yeah, which is interesting, given the high
Amherst.
number of renters.
Yeah,
Um,
well, and just Amherst, like so much of it is turnover every semester.
Right, exactly. So that was kind of interesting. So,
But I think
Um,
laws and addresses provided by National Grid, I don't know what percentage of the problem that is in Northampton, but that's mind-boggling to me that that there were flaws in addresses provided by National Grid.
mhm.
I'm sure
Um,
the bill
Oh, I can
finds
see
its
that
way
with
to the mailbox.
multifamily too,
Yeah.
where the landlord is in Florida and receiving their bill there. And so, you know what I mean? Like it might just be an account number and
Yeah.
yeah.
But let me just say this. I mean, the fact is that in Amherst, and I know I'm not here representing Amherst, but Amherst has way more rental housing, I think, than Northampton does.
Yeah.
And multifamily housing as well. And so I'm not sure, you know, how much of what's going on here can be in Northampton, frankly, can be explained by that as compared to Amherst when we look at these numbers. But that's neither here nor there. These are the numbers. This is it.
Yeah, I did actually have that passing thought in my head only because I just literally looked at this before I jumped on the meeting and wondered about that because I thought I wasn't aware that Northampton had more multi-family housing than Amherst. So I did find that a little, you know, I think that's actually a question that I would like to pose to Paul about that comment.
Yeah, I can't believe that, frankly.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, it could be an opportunity for Leah because the usage on average is so much higher. And it's in every category too.
Yes,
I
exactly.
think the headline that's buried here, Bob, is there's 34 non-residential accounts in Pelham.
Right? Well, those are certainly among all the town accounts,
That's true. Yes,
non-residential.
yes.
So all of our town accounts, you know, are in. I don't know how many there are, but there certainly are maybe a dozen.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well,
I
the
guess-
average basic usage for the non-residential accounts in Pelham is quite large, and it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it might be an opportunity for energy efficiency savings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can somebody,
yeah.
can somebody explain to me under the average use per account, that chart, part of the chart, it
Mhm.
shows residential, non-residential, and total. I don't know how that total is derived. What is that total representing?
Good question.
A good
It should
question.
be the 327,000 number up above divided by the 448 number up above that, I think.
Oh, oh,
You mean on the average use per account?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So that's just saying average
Oh, I see.
across all kinds of users.
okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'll get
I'm
this over
surprised-
to John and Tony, Bob, when it comes in.
Okay.
Adele?
I'm surprised at how many non-residential accounts are signed up.
And where, Adele? Where are you looking?
In Northampton or Amherst in particular. There's a lot of accounts, non-residential accounts. I mean, Northampton has over
A
1,000.
lot of small businesses.
I mean, over
I was thinking small businesses, institutions.
Yeah, anything that's not residential, I think, according to the
Residential
billing
is
code.
in that
Yeah.
category.
Yeah.
I'm surprised
Um,
that there's 34 non-residential accounts in Pelham.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and Bob was saying that some fraction of those are municipal accounts.
Right.
Um, and not that I want to unsell Valley Green Energy, but in Northampton, we have worked with, in this case, Power Options, and I'm not recommending them in particular, but most municipalities I have learned, Stephanie can probably beat the pants off of me on this one, that you work with brokers to get much better rates over essentially the same thing that we're doing with Valley Green Energy, using the negotiating power of towns banding together. So Mass Municipal Association has a service that that does energy buying as well. So I don't know if that's, I mean, it's not relevant to VGE, but it is relevant to cost savings for municipalities.
Yeah.
It's
and
so
Amherst.
it's relevant to VGE in that we'd love to have the municipalities in VGE. And why wouldn't the power of, the amount of energy used benefit the CCA?
I
Oh,
think-
it would, but like Northampton, for example, we've locked in 11 cents for the next 2 years.
Same with Amherst. Because it's such a significantly lower rate, and that obviously translates to a large number in terms of savings. And I think in my mind, how we're dealing with this is the building decarbonization projects and the fleet transition and the other things that we're doing to decarbonize, is a way that we're sort of offsetting a lack of participation in this, because it's a significant amount of money.
But isn't it strange that municipalities, even small municipalities, can get much better rates than we can, as with all the residents and non-residential counts?
Well, but if you think about what the Massachusetts Municipal Association represents, and think about, I'm sure that the number of cities and towns that are participating, and now you've got me going about why Pelham is not involved there. But the number way exceeds the number of accounts that we're looking at between our 3 towns. I'm sure of that. Especially usage. The usage way exceeds what we're talking about here, I
I
think.
see, right, it's not based on your usage, yeah.
No, and just, I mean, obviously, all of this stuff is in all sorts of contexts, but some of the users, like a high school, for example,
Mhm.
or a wastewater treatment plant, uses so much electricity that a few cents difference per kilowatt hour is enough in an operating budget to pay for a few teachers.
Mhm.
And so
Interesting.
I wish I could make that argument publicly and make it make sense to people, because our local politics in Northampton is very much focused on schools and budgets. And so there are reasons to try to save as much money on those operating budgets as possible. And when we're able to reduce energy usage by pretty large amounts because of the high level of inefficiency we already have. This is all off topic though. So it's not VGE, it's just saying that there's value in just getting the best deal for a city and then reducing your carbon emissions as much as possible directly.
What if we added this municipalities in and then went out to bid? Would we get a better rate?
That seems like a good question for Paul Gromer.
Yeah.
I'd be in favor. If I can beat the rate that I've got, and then I don't care how I get it, it's like great. So, and if that benefits everybody, if that gets Amherst and Pelham to be more competitive than Eversource, that's even better,
I agree that also I would love to see the municipalities participate, but like what Ben said in terms of the rate, I'm not sure it would be significant enough to be competitive with what is currently being offered through MMA. I'd be hesitant because it is such a larger scale, like it's much, much bigger scale.
But like I said, let's ask
Yeah, I'll ask
Paul,
Paul, sure.
because if because he knows this better than we would, and I'd love to know the answer.
Yeah, I'll ask him for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I was just offering my opinion, but
Yeah, no, and I mean,
And
I think
I
you're probably
I'm
right.
happy to ask. Yeah, I'm more than happy to ask. I mean, it
Yeah.
would be great. I've got a couple of questions for him now, that I'm noting from our discussion here about the multifamily housing and then also about, adding municipalities to VGE, how would that affect the rate? Any other questions that come up for you all while you're looking at this that I can pass on?
Yeah, I have one.
Yep.
Which is, what is the time period over which, so we're measuring kilowatt hours, but over, since the program started or during 1 month, like,
Oh, this was for December. It says it right here, December 2024,
Oh,
I believe.
oh, yeah, no, I think I just couldn't see it in my zoom in of
Yeah,
it.
I couldn't see it either.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
so
mail it to
that's
you all.
great.
You'll get it.
Yeah, this would be, so I recently got a question at our Energy and Sustainability Commission meeting, basically wanting an update on this very question. I mean, what I don't have an answer for is, what is the total number of accounts in Northampton? Not the opt-outs, but the people who were on a third-party supplier already. And my answer at the time was like, it's really hard for us to know, and which is unsatisfying. And I don't know if Paul could get us that information, because then we'd have a real picture of like essentially
Right.
what is our real penetration.
And I think we tried to get that. I think there was a reason which escapes me at the moment because I think Marlena addressed that. But I'll ask that question because I know that that's something we've been looking for, but I think there was a reason why we couldn't get it yet. So
I believe the reason was that this requirement that National Grid supply that information was brand new. And it would take National Grid and Eversource probably as much as a year to
Oh.
comply with that requirement.
That sounds likely. That sounds right. So we may not be able to supply that answer, but this is still it's really good info for me to be able to share. So I appreciate
This is
you
a good
getting it.
snapshot for us to have.
Yeah.
Likewise, I'm looking forward to sharing this with the ECAC and with the town manager and the town council, who I'm sure he'll share it with the town council.
So based on this information, how much would we expect to add from our adder? How much would we gather from our adder?
Hmm.
I can't do the math, but
If
at the
I had
moment.
the spreadsheet, I would calculate it for you on the
Thank
page.
you.
but I
Maybe
don't
you
have it.
will. You
It's
will
coming.
have the numbers soon.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
will. Yeah, we can figure that out.
I can tell you in terms of Pelham, this is kind of interesting to me. Currently, we're showing 574 households in town, and we're showing 452 in Valley Green Energy right here. So there's a fair number just in our little town that are not represented in that residential number, a number of households that are not represented in that number.
Mm.
So either
And-
they're third-party contracts, like, and we don't know about them, or they've opted out. And we know that there was a relatively small number of opt-outs down here that was shown. I forget where that
Yeah,
was.
yours was less than 1%.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
yeah. So, well, no, 5% opt-out.
5%.
Right. So, that's what, about almost 30 homes opting out out of the 574. So
Okay.
anyway, it gives us at least in Pelham, that gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're talking
Yeah.
in terms
Yeah.
of penetration. We've got a ways to go, in other words,
Mhm.
potential for growth.
How many households did you say were in Pelham?
574.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nobody asked me the question about Northampton. I don't know the answer.
I don't know for either. So, okay. Any other questions?
No, this is great. I'm really
Yeah.
glad you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I asked for an update, this is not what I was anticipating getting. So I was very pleased that it was something that I could easily share and, so with that, I'm gonna stop sharing. Unless there's any more questions. Okay. All right. Great.
Did we
So,
lose Tom?
oh,
Yeah, we lost him.
lost Tom. I don't see him coming back yet, though.
By the way, I'm taking notes since Darcy's not here.
Thank
Wow.
you, Andrew. I wanted to, so because this is a moment to give updates, sort of related, not directly to Valley Green Energy really, but I just wanted to give an update on Amherst, and I know that Northampton is doing a similar thing, so I would love for you, Ben or Adele, to give an update on, we're launching our heat pump program very soon. We are working with Center for Ecotechnology as our program administrator, and they are starting with 3 pilot projects, 3 residential pilot projects. We're going to be doing a mailing starting this month to notice people, to let people know about the program, and then they'll begin the pilot in February, March, and then in April, we'll launch the program for the broader community for participation. The pilot is obviously just to sort of work out some of the kinks in the program and then figure out how they can refine that. So when they do the larger launch with the community, they'll be more streamlined. Again, because we're using ARPA funding, our heat pump program goes till everything has to be distributed, expended, wrapped up by the end of December in 2026. So that's the timeline for our program, is basically from April, technically for the broader community, of 2025 till the end of 2026. We're hoping to have at least 30 household enrollments, participation where people will actually, install heat pumps. So 30 complete projects, as well as reaching 1,000 households. So that's kind of some of the broader goals for that program. And didn't know if you all, Ben or Adele, wanted to talk about Northampton's effort.
Can I ask a question about,
Yeah, sure.
are you targeting low to moderate income households first?
Yes, yes, exactly. The incentive rate will be a little different. So for, the incentive for low to moderate income will be $3,500. And then for those with less of a need will be 2,500. And that's the local incentive only. That's just the town's incentive that's being offered for this program. That's on top of whatever Mass Save is doing and what other incentives folks can secure. And the idea is that, part of the advantage that we're getting of working with CT is that they're going to work very closely with the household, sort of like, a heat pump coach would. There's going to be a manual J conducted. There's going to be follow-up in terms of reviewing. They're going to request that people get three offers, and they're going to review those options with the homeowner to discuss them, to help them make a decision. They won't make the decision for them, but they will at least be making an informed decision to ensure that the unit that's being proposed is not oversized for their house. So it's going to be a really, they're going to really work very, very closely with our residents. So there's a lot of benefit in sort of what they're offering in terms of the funding that we have for this program. A lot of it is going to be offered in just sort of community support, as well as just the cost of installing the heat pump and the heat pump purchase itself.
That's great.
Yeah, we talked through this quite a bit with them, so.
And will you be also targeting natural gas users?
Yeah, ironically, CET is the provider for Mass Save provider for Berkshire Gas. So they already have a direct line with folks that are on gas. However, we're really hoping that they'll be doing a concerted effort to work with those folks who have oil currently, not just the Berkshire Gas customers, but those who have oil, because it's going to be as you well know, it's going to be a little bit harder of a sell for those who are going to be paying a little more versus those from oil who will ultimately likely pay less. So, but they're targeting everybody. I mean, the idea is to target everybody.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a great program. We have what sounds like actually a similar kind of program, but funded differently and with different partners. So Northampton and East Hampton are part of an Electrify Northampton, East Hampton project that is being funded. So it's being run by Mass CEC, and the funding comes from a settlement with Eversource. And it does target low and moderate income homeowners, and the partner is Revise Energy, which is doing which will have the contract to do the outreach and the lining people up with weatherization and heat pumps in almost, in all cases, the intention is to do weatherization and heat pumps as part of a package. Their approach is that they're going to work with several local installers, but they do have their own network as well. And where it differs is that instead of requiring 3 quotes, they're using the pricing scheme required by the WAP, the weatherization assistance program that's available to people who are on fuel assistance. And so that pricing approach is designed to keep prices lower, so it's on that side. I did like, in a sense, they've got it. The question of engineering comes down to like, how are you doing those manual J's and how are you designing these things? So they, part of why they got this contract was that they had a pretty good system for delivering reliable manual J's and not oversizing. And that we basically got ourselves comfortable with the fact that they were going to do responsible engineering is what it came down to. And so that was, so it's a slightly different approach. It's certainly not the whole thing. So I think that, you know, the goal is to do, you know, 100,000 heat pump installations. And there's the incentive on top of all the Mass Save incentives comes from this Mass CEC, the settlement with Eversource. And they're devoting most of that to added incentive, but a fair portion of it is covering the outreach component and all that stuff. And we are still a few weeks away, according to Mass CEC, from actually having a contract. So, you know, it's been a long process. I was part of the interviewing process to try and get this whole thing started before I even started the job back in June. So it's been it's just taken a long time, partly because the group that initially got the contract dropped out. So anyway, but again, we're
So,
working.
did you say the goal is 100,000 households?
Heat pump installations. I don't, so that could be households that I'm not sure how you would break that
Oh.
down.
Like each mini split?
I mean, it shouldn't be, but that's actually a good question, is how do we decide to measure success?
Is that, sorry to jump in, but is that 50 per community, 50,000 per community? Or is this 100?
Roughly, but they're taking the communities as a whole. You know, so like if they do more in one than the other. So they're still meant to target low and moderate income. And they're coordinating with all the low income resources that are there. But again, it hasn't started yet. We also did win the grant with East Hampton and West Hampton to get an energy outreach officer. I forget what the actual title is, but something like that.
Is that the Mass Save Community First partnership?
That's the
That's
one.
different. There are two, it's very confusing because there's two Mass Save opportunities right now that sounds, similar, but they're different. So that's.
Yeah. This is the one that municipalities can get to hire a person.
Well, so is the other one, but this one is
Oh.
this is an energy advocate through the Community First Partnership Program.
That's the word.
Is an energy manager that communities can hire. And they hire them up to 3 years on a full-time basis, but they're different, but it is really confusing because they sound almost identical.
Right. Yeah, but this one, but it's a very different job actually, right? So because this one really is about outreach, it's an advocate.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that this person will coordinate with the Mass CEC run program for East Hampton and Northampton. It's why we joined up with East Hampton, is to make it you know, harmonize.
And it's why you got the funding, because that's a great opportunity for that, like that person, that energy advocate role is exactly what you all are doing. Can I ask how much the funding was that you secured for this effort?
For
the whole effort, yeah, for, you know, the Northampton.
Hampton, yeah.
Hampton.
I don't have it off the top of my head. I'd have to go.
I'm just wondering, like,
to go find it.
$1 million, like, because that's 100,000 heat pump installations is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, most of the funding, of course, is Mass Save.
Yeah.
It's just outreach, so it's a goal. But rather than misspeak, let me go hunt through my emails when we're not on Zoom, and I'll share that with you. I don't have it off the top of my head.
I'm puzzled by the 100,000 number, given
You
that.
know, ignore that number too.
Sorry?
That might be that I am bad with zeros. I add them all the time. Let's just assume that I misspoke, and I'll get you the accurate information by hunting through my agreements.
Because
Thanks.
there are
interesting.
only 30,000 residents in Northampton and Amherst.
That's in
Yeah,
East
you know what? I probably added a zero. Probably the goal was 10,000.
Hampton, yeah.
Yeah.
But no matter what the numbers are, what's interesting to me about both of these projects, Amherst and what's going on in Northampton, in the end, people will be using more kilowatts than they are now.
Mhm.
Hopefully, it'll be a net savings for them because, as opposed to paying for gas or oil. But nevertheless, it's an opportunity for Valley Green Energy, right? Because we're going to be selling more juice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my question, I can speak to the energy coaching program that is about to launch in Northampton and will eventually include Amherst and Pelham. But the people who are involved in that will be presenting at next week's local energy advocates meeting. And if you would like, if any of you would like to attend, I can supply the link. But the question that I have for Ben is, given the energy coaching program that is being launched, how will it interact with these other projects, these other two projects that you mentioned?
My impression is that the East Hampton, Northampton Electrify program, that Revise Energy would be glad to work with, share lists, et cetera, share information with a volunteer energy coaching group. I would think that the energy advocate would outreach to this energy coaching volunteer group just to be aware of what they're doing and potentially connect people up to their services as needed. But part of what we did when we wrote the position is we said, what's the way for them to be most effective, since it's one person working part-time for 3 communities. And so that person, Gabi and I, at least our intention is to direct them to work with landlords so that we can, hit one very, very difficult person and make a large change for, for multifamily. And that's our primary approach, with a secondary approach being to work with small businesses, non-residential customers. So I think that the overlap with the energy coaching group, which is probably mostly single family residential, is going to be small.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben and Adele. I will note that Amherst did apply for the Community First Partnership Energy Advocate position as well, but we did not receive funding.
So
Greenfield did the same and they didn't receive it either. Our programs were actually very similar. And I think it was funny because when we were applying, it said the minimum salary to be offered is $30 an hour for the position. So we had to align it with our current org chart in terms of positions. We had to find a position that's, that was closest in parallel to what that position would be. And we had to go with the rate that is being, that currently exists for the town, and that was $35 an hour. And we were told, why is it so high? And I was like, well, your minimum was $30 an hour. So I don't see how $35 an hour is like exceedingly extravagant. So, but I think it turns out that they actually had far more applicants for the program than they anticipated, which is great. I mean, that's a great problem to have. So, and frankly, I feel like because we're doing this program and because there are efforts that are underway through other organizations and groups that, I think we'll be fine. And I think there are other communities that do need that kind of support. So, but similarly, we were going to have our advocate work very closely with our program as well. But to no avail.
So I'll say this about, next round. So one thing, it's interesting, the whole, why is it so high? We had the same question, why is it so high? And we answered, well, that's because that's what we were told the fringe rates were gonna be, had to be. And that was based on a full-time position, and at least we talked to our HR director and our finance director, and the initial guess was wrong, and then they said, oh, no, if it's part-time, then you can change the fringes and the benefits to this other rate. And so we were able to come in a little bit cheaper. So
Didn't know
that
that. You
so
were-
so that might actually be because our advice, we started out with advice that forced us into this pretty high hourly rate,
Right.
and then we got better advice that allowed us to correct it. The reason I bring this up is right now, I mean, we're sharing a part-time person with 3 communities, and if you prorate them by population, what are we getting? A little bit less than 10 hours a week from this person. Once we hire this person and they figure out what they're doing and they get good at it, they're still a part-time employee with 2 years left on their thing. If you come around the next year and are able to provide the good rate, like you could potentially hire that person for the other half of their time, the same person in the same region, maybe even share them with Greenfield, and benefit from their learning curve on our dime, or well, Mass Save's dime. And so it's possible that this could actually, kind of the timing of it could work out well for the program and for them as an individual.
Mhm. Yeah, well, maybe next round.
Yeah.
But this is the second time we've applied and the second time we did not get funded. So, but again, I think it was because it was so competitive, and had we known that, because our position was not proposed as full-time either, but it was based on a full-time rate,
That's the issue.
so.
And
And
we,
benefits, like the
yeah,
benefit also.
yeah.
So it was, it was a lot. So anyway, well, now we know for next time.
Yeah.
So, are there any other, I know, Leah had some updates. Did you want to go over those now, Adele, or do you want to save those for the next meeting?
I would like to save them for the next meeting when Darcy can join us.
Okay, great, sure. Okay, are there any other updates that anyone has that they want to share? Anything going on in Pelham that you want to share, Bob?
No, I wish there was, but there isn't.
I did forward to you, Darcy had sent that energy manager opportunity through Mass Save, which we had, we had already known about it, but we're just, we're not eligible because, Ben and I exist and work in this arena full time, so for our communities, so, but certainly Pelham would be eligible, so.
And of course, as in any small community, who's going to write the grant is always
Right.
the question for us. But we'll try to figure something out.
Well, I don't know how much I can assist, but if I can support you in some way, just let me know, and I'm
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate that.
more than happy, so. Okay, well, I think that was all we had for today. Our next meeting, I believe, is February 12th. I don't have it hanging up in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that's the date. So
February, what time?
February 12th at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So,
And will we have anybody from, I'm going to be out of the country then, but I hope Tom can attend.
okay, I can check with Tom to see if he can make it. About 2:12 meeting. Okay, I'll check with him. But I had sent the list of dates and times to everybody, in December, I think I sent the list of the meeting dates and times, so I can forward it again if you don't have it.
I'll find it.
Okay. All right, well, thank you all so much.
All right.
Some confusion at the beginning, these numbers make my head spin, but it's all good. So,
Hope you feel better soon, Stephanie.
thank you, yeah, it's just, just a cold, I think. But thank you all, have a great long weekend.
you
I
too.
hope you're doing something wonderful for MLK Junior Day.
Yep, I would be walking in the woods or something.
You know,
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie, for all you do.
Yes,
thanks to all
thank
you
you.
too, all of you, everybody here. Thank you all. All right.
See you
talk to
all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.